Hey, this video is an overview of some of the features in a project I've been working on for the past 3 years called Bespoke. Bespoke is a modular synth. It's sort of a DAW, but instead of focusing on production, it's more focused on live performance with Midi controllers. So first of all, the audio you're hearing right now is running through Bespoke. You can see this input channel here, which is my microphone, which is patched to connect to this stereo splitter, which goes into two channels, which are the speakers. So you can see here that you can see the audio traveling through the patch cables, and also each of the modules, when audio comes into it, you can see it, they blink with the sound, so that makes it pretty easy to track the signal flow happening through the software. So the basic idea behind Bespoke is that you can create these custom layouts for yourself that do exactly what you want them to do. So to get something going, let's create a simple little synthesizer here. So let's drop in a MIDI instrument. If I click this drop down, you see the MIDI controllers I have connected to my computer. So let's pick the key station, which is my keyboard. Now let's drop in an oscillator. Patch them together. Patch this into the stereo splitter. Turn up the volume and hit a key. And there you go, we're playing a sine wave. We can also play a square wave, triangle, sawtooth. Okay, so that's very simple. So now let's load up something more complicated, which is the main patch that I use that encompasses all my controllers and I use for performance. Alright, so as you can see, it can get a lot more complicated here. But it's complicated, but since like I created this layout for myself, I know all of everything that's going on, like exactly where everything is. So it'd be tough for somebody else to use, but I can use it perfectly. And that's the idea, is that any user would also create this for themselves, and they would have something that's very complicated, but they would understand how to use it. So now that I've got everything loaded up here, I'll give a little tour of some of the various things it does. So I've got, so first of all, you can see all these boxes here. The different colors of boxes represent different things that each of them does. So you can see sort of a signal chain here. So it starts with a keyboard here. So the red things are things that create notes. The green things are note effects. They take notes in and they spit notes out. The blue things are instruments, so they take notes in. You can see here, and then they put audio out. And the yellow things are audio effects. They take audio in and send audio out. So one thing I have here is a FM synthesis. So that's just a little sine wave, but we add some modulation. We can change the harmonic ratio. And you can see, so what I'm doing on my keyboard is I'm just playing the white keys, but since I have it patched into this white keys note effect module, what it's doing is it's remapping the white keys to be in this scale I've selected here. So right now I'm playing C# Ionian, but I could play G Persian if I wanted to. Let's go back to an Aeolian now. So there's the FM. I can have these ADSRs on here too, affecting the modulation or just the volume envelope. You can see that I have this waveform display here, which is phase locked to the last note you pressed. So if I play a note here, constant one, and you can see, like, when I adjust the modulation, you can see exactly what's happening to the waveform in a nice way. I've also got a quarter device, which is nice for playing chords. So I can play, like, I press one note and I've got a fifth. I can play the octaves together. We can have an inverted triad. Yeah. Another audio instrument I have is the Carplus Strong string modeler. I can switch over to that one. And since it's a physical model, I can adjust things. I've also got the oscillators, which you heard before, but I can play one square wave here, but I can also have multiple going. Let's see, let's have two sawtooth waves. Turn the volume up on the second one, and let's detune them. I can also have the pitch, have it follow a pitch envelope when you play it. So let's go back to a single square wave. Let's say I could pitch it from low up to the destination pitch. Go from high as well. I also have, so all of these sliders here can have LFOs applied to them. So if I hold the Q key here and click on one of them, you can see that I now have this LFO control. So now I have an LFO on the pulse width, so I have some pulse width modulation happening, going in a 1 bar sine wave oscillation. So now when you'll hear that. And you can see the pulse width modulation happening here as well, which is neat. There we go. I've also got a device which is sort of an emulation of Native Instruments Razor, which I thought was pretty neat. Where's that at? Oh, there it is. So you see that nice display that the Razor has. Cut down the number of partials. You can see in the waveform display here it building up. I think it's a pretty neat thing. I don't have all the cool controls that the Razor has, but the synthesis engine is pretty neat to play with. Yeah. Alright, moving on. I have all of the audio routed down. You see these 4 loopers at the bottom. So each of these is a looper that is synced to my clock here. All the audio runs into this thing here, which is called the looper bank. And I can commit audio from the bank into a looper. So let's get a 4 on the floor beat going. Let's slow it down to maybe 90 BPM. Play a little loop with the oscillator. So now you can see the audio is in this looper here. Let's get a nice loop going with the Carplus Strong. Turn off the 4 on the floor. I've got a neat effect on my looper. I saw a trick that Fortet does where he chops up 8th notes and plays them at double speed and then fills in the gaps that get created on the other side of the 8th note by playing that 8th note at double speed backwards. So I made a little slider that does it automatically. So you can wet dry it in. It's a nice way to get like a little higher pitch on your loop though. Create some neat sounds. I also have a stutter control, so my looper is running into this effects chain here. There's a stutter on it. The loopers run into this rewriter object here. So if I hit the go button on it, it gets committed into the audio buffer, so now that is what is playing from that looper. That stuttered version of it. You can see here I also have a neat little display of, let's get rid of that. The audio coming out, I have a nicer one here, which is you can see a Lissajous curve, which is a great way, better than just a time-based waveform of looking at audio signals. So you're seeing in one axis, graphed in one axis, the current signal, and then another, the signal delayed by 2 milliseconds, so it's slightly out of phase of the other. And you can see the shape of the audio really well. It works well with, let's look at an oscillator here with, say, a sawtooth. So you can see the sawtooth wave there. And so I have my FX chain up here with a bunch of effects, so let's apply maybe like a low-pass filter to that. And you can see it smooth out in the Lissajous curve, which is pretty neat. Put some resonance on it. And then modulate the cutoff. It's just a really beautiful way of seeing the audio, and it's just neat because you don't have to phase lock it or anything. It just automatically is static for standing waves. One really cool thing to see is a bit crush on it. You can actually see it bit crush there. And with the downsample, you can see the downsampling like run through. It's also very cool to see if you have a distortion with, say, a hard clip. You can see where the clipping lines are. Oh, let me turn off the low-pass filter. And you can see where it's clipping, which is very cool. I also have step sequencers here, which are cool to use. So first I've got a note step sequencer, so I'm using a Ovation launch control and the knobs for controlling the pitches, but you can see the step sequencer here. And I'll turn it on. I'll show a short loop here. Turn off distortion. Use the car plus strong. In my effects chain, I'll use some dotted 8th note delay, which is the perfect delay. I can change the degree that the step sequencer is playing in, which is neat. Change the tempo that things are running at. Go back down to the one we had. Back to 90. I have my drums here, so I can play them with a machina, which I have here. I I can also play them through a step sequencer. So let's turn that on. That's going right here. Switch to different drum samples. I have another chain here that's just my drums, so I can get it to lay on that if I want, or I can crush the drums. Low pass filter. One thing I learned to get a nice groove in drum is so you can add some swing, which I have over here. So we have a slight swing now. Let's go to a straight 16s. Yeah, so we have a little swing, but also if you want sort of that nice like J Dilla groove, you kind of want your hats to be late and your snares to be early. So I have some sliders here to the side, so you can see I can drag my hats to be a little late and my snares to be a little early, and you can see them in the step sequencer actually get slid a little bit to the side. And now if we put that on, then you get some of that nice groove. And if you want to go further off the grid, I have another type of sequencer, which I call the slider sequencer, which instead of putting notes into a grid, or beats into a grid, you put them at whatever time you want, at whatever velocity you want here. These are kicks. Let's have... That can be good with a step sequencer together. That sounds a little janky, but you know, you can get it sounding really good. I've got a nice granulator, which is great for some cool sounds. So let's put it on the drums. So you can have that set to do like a granular freeze, and I can have it auto capture just every 16th note, it'll do it. Get some neat glitchy drums with that, especially when you combine it with a stutter. You can play in, let's see, wrapping up here. We can do crazy time signatures. Let's do like a 7/8, which is fun. Get the step sequencer going again. Speed it up for this one. Oh well, all beats can't be winners, but with practice they can. And then one last cool thing I have here, which has been nice for optimization, is I have a profiler, so I can call it my profiler, see what's expensive, so you can see, so this is my audio total here. It's using like about 700 microseconds. You can see the most expensive thing here is my delays, so maybe it's because I have a lot of delays, or maybe my delay is not very efficient, so that would be maybe something that I would tackle to try and make cheaper. Uh, okay, cool. Bring profiler away. Yeah, so I should make a performance video in the future, but this is a pretty cool overview of a lot of neat things that I have. You can see there's a lot more stuff that I didn't go over, but this video is pretty long already, so I think I'll call it. Thanks for watching. One last thing before I go. I wanted to show you some of the MIDI controllers I use to perform, so you have a little context for how I use Bespoke. Generally, when I'm performing, I'm not touching the laptop at all. Bespoke has a lot of MIDI mapping features, and I take advantage of those. So a quick little tour. So I have my keyboard here. I've got my Machina for drums. Got some beat repeat as well. So nano control here for effects. This Behringer CMDLC1 is for controlling my loopers. I've got my monome for a step sequencer here. I also use it for this thing I didn't show called the sampler grid. Sampler grid, which is pretty fun to play with. I've got a MIDI fighter twister for a lot of like ADSRs and other effects control. Nano pad is for my stutters. I've got a launch pad, which is laid out actually coincidentally in a pretty similar way to the push. I came up with the layout before the push was announced, but then I was surprised to find that they came up with the same layout I did. And also with the quarter here, you can see how I can play a triad right there. And last I've got the launch control here, which is what I use for my step sequencer. So the top row I have mapped to pitch, and the bottom row is velocity. Turn that on. And then I can use this nano key up here to control the degree of the scale. Alright, cool. Yeah, that's just an overview of some of the stuff, so now I'm really done. See ya.